Roof climbing's the best kind of climbing. Who doesn't love their bodies being at right angles with gravity while their forearms slowly turn into cooked sausages? And luckily we have a lot of it where I live. Something like half of my local bolted crags are roofs. And maybe my local climbing gym doesn't have things like textured walls or auto belays. But they do have this. In this video, I'm mainly reviewing 3 climbs I did of my gym's roof and telling you where I went right and wrong. So first of all, we have a climb of the roof I did back in my competition days before the roof was repainted. I used to be in the state youth team for my state of South Australia, which isn't really as impressive as it may sound, but I did train a lot and as a result I was actually pretty strong. And here you can see the technique I got away with by being that strong. You can also get a look at what the roof is like. It was built before newer safety standards came up in Australia regarding building materials and such, and they got away with building a pretty impressive wall pretty cheaply. I have been to a fair amount of gyms at this point in the US and Europe as well as Australia, and while there's certainly better out there, this remains the second most impressive roof I've personally ever seen in a climbing gym. It's only about 10 meters tall but probably overhangs by roughly the same amount, and makes for some pretty solid training as well as a rite of passage for new leaders here. So here I'm just about to launch into the roof section itself. It's very important to note that roof climbing is a very different beast from normal overhang climbing, and many techniques which work with overhangs will not work here, as it's impossible to get your center of gravity above your feet on the roof. I didn't have the cleanest climbing leading into it, which is unfortunately fairly crucial for roof climbing. Efficiency is pretty important for any kind of climbing, but especially so for roofs because true rests can be very rare here. So making sure you read the route and climb it by memory gets very important on roofs. Do the whole beta dance, make sure you know what you're doing, and take every rest you can before launching into the roof itself. As you can see in this video, I actually shake out for a while on the holds just below the start of the roof, even though they aren't the best holds. I would say this attempt was pretty good, I climbed pretty fast, but I could have improved on my technique a bit, as we'll see in future attempts. So now we return to the roof with some new fresh holds, a fresh new painted wall, and a fresh new haircut. And you can quickly see my technique is much smoother now than it was in my comp days, despite me doing no route reading whatsoever for these ascents. This climb might not look as hard as the last one, but here it's important to keep some things in mind. If you take a jug on a vertical wall and turn it downwards, it does become considerably worse and basically turns into a sloper or a crimp. The roof essentially removes the in-cut. But you can turn these holds back into jugs by ensuring your center of mass is in the direction you want to pull on the holds from. So if you want to undercling, you may want to get your feet really close to your hands and press into the footholds. Once you really understand this principle, there are a number of ways you can use it to your advantage, and it makes the roof feel a lot more like a 45-degree wall than a 90-degree one. You can see that I do a lot of drop knees, which means turning both knees in the same direction, and I actually maintain this to some degree through the entire roof. On normal overhangs, it's done to keep your body close to the wall, but on the roof, the concept of keeping yourself close to the wall breaks down a bit, since you will never be able to get your center of mass above your feet. While it takes some weight off my arms, trying to drop knee actually saps a bit of core energy here, since I need to find the position and be careful to keep my core stable. So why do I do this? When you twist your body like this, it emulates certain types of kipping, as well as a popular move in ice climbing called the figure 4. The objective of the drop knee here is to twist your shoulder so that you draw the shoulder of the arm you want to move toward the elbow of the arm that's on the wall. It's essentially a free way of moving yourself toward the next hold without actually having to move your center of mass during the move itself, as you would be forced to do if you were just swinging around. This technique is very beneficial anytime your feet aren't really doing much, and it actually makes campusing quite a lot easier. Another important note is that low feet are OP in roof climbing, especially outdoors where there may be all these spiky bits hanging down from the roof. It can actually be better to smear on a terrible low foot than it is to use a heel hook that's positioned at level with your hands. While heel hooks and toe hooks can be nice on roofs and remove a lot of weight from your hands, they can also trap you into using very high feet, which can sap energy much faster than using the lowest ones available. Clipping becomes massive on the roof. If you haven't launched into the roof yet and the first gear or bolt is within reach, you should high clip it as you're resting for the push. Otherwise, always low clip whenever possible. You actually see me trying to low clip, realizing the hold is crap and readjusting to high clip instead. Low clipping will save a lot of energy and removes a lot of the geometry you'd otherwise have to do trying to clip, as clipping feels quite different on the roof and is generally harder. Another tip I'd give is if you're pumped and need to clip, initially hang on the hand you want to clip with as long as you possibly can, pumping it to hell while shaking out the other. Then switch hands and clip confidently. Possibly the biggest aspect of the roof is time. For those who don't know, the body uses 3 different energy sources to power muscles. One is the phosphagen system, which you can think of as the wood already present in the fireplace when you light it. It's basically the body using the strength already stored in the muscle. The problem is it's basically used instantly in the first 10 seconds, which means that by the time you reach the roof, you'll usually have none left. Breathing won't be enough to power you, so your body digs into its power banks, the carbs, and starts breaking them down. The only issue with this is it's a really inefficient, really wasteful system which fills your arms with lactic acid and causes pump. So that system basically starts a timer which guarantees between 90 and 120 seconds to system failure starting from the moment you stop resting. So you really want to reach the end of the roof before this clock runs out. I reached the top before this threshold on 2 of my goes, but failed to on the 3rd, and you can kind of see the moment the pump clock runs out there. The clock doesn't really reset well during rests, which is why falling on a roof and having to redo that section can lead to a cycle of failure when trying to complete the roof. To summarize, be as efficient as possible, since as soon as you hit the horizontal, there very often isn't a way to rest. Push into the handholds whenever possible. Use campus techniques to save power. Clip low when you can, and remember the 120-second rule. That's it from me, thanks for watching, and comment below if you have anything to add. See you next time.